to the Prime Minister, is that what I want to see and what we want for this country is people who are out there working hard, running small businesses, out there making the contribution to generate the earnings which actually pay for the welfare system. It's got to be fair for those people who pay for the welfare system as well. And we're strong advocates for those who are doing that.
The government's been saying that there needs to be a really strong economic imperative here
True.
to boost jobs and growth. The modelling that had been commissioned around GST changes, can you give us some sort of flavour as to what that was showing? Was there much of a boost? Was it showing much of a boost or not?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, there's nothing we've looked at which would have certainly hurt growth. That's important. Everything we've been looking at has been pro-growth. And in an environment like this, where world growth is very, very sluggish for all the reasons we understand, then it's important that we fight for every inch of growth that we can get. And that's what this government is doing, and that's what this government will always do. It's about growth and jobs, and we will look carefully at everything. We just don't write things off carelessly and politically. We examine them carefully, as the Prime Minister has said. We set up what the benchmarks are for what they need to clear. And if they can't meet those benchmarks, well, that's the reality. But that is our process. We will do what's right for jobs and growth in this economy. And I'm part of the team that's doing that, and the Prime Minister is leading that process.
Labor's already proposed superannuation tax trimmings, and they're looking at negative gearing, not ending it, but placing limits. Is there a chance that you may end up more in lockstep with Labor than you originally thought, and when it comes to at least the changes you'll make to tax, not on how you spend it?
Labor's plan is to tax and spend. We will not be in lockstep with that plan. I've given you my answer.
Negative gearing appears to be on the table. You've had some comments to make before how you feel as though it is a benefit. It's not something that just high income earners benefit from.
Yeah, negative gearing has been and continues to be a real opportunity for middle income earning Australians. Nurses and doctors and whether it's policemen or others. I mean, these are people out there working every day and trying to get ahead. They're not the problem. But, you know, we need to look at all of the aspects of how our tax system works. But what we are not about is we're not about taxing and spending. That's not what we're about. We're not about raising taxes to support higher spending. That's Labor's approach. That's Labor's approach. It's not ours.
Just when it comes to the debate, a week ago you were talking about ready to go into bat, if you like, for unpopular changes. You spoke about both turn backs. Do you feel as though the debate has shifted since then because of political reality?
Well, that's for you to commentate on. What I said last week, right here, was the government will seek to do what's right for the national economy. And that's exactly where we're at. We will do what's right for the national economy. We will soberly consider things, we will assess them, we will make decisions. And that's what we're in the process of doing. Now, what Labor does is they believe the way that they should be funding their higher expenditure is to raise taxes. They're not raising savings measures. There's virtually no savings measures in Labor's plan. Over the budget and forward estimates of the some $9 billion that they've identified, about $7.8 billion or thereabouts is in higher taxes. So their plan is to have higher spending with higher taxes that still don't match up to the $13 billion and more of spending commitments that they've announced since May. And this is the problem with Labor. For example, in the way they want to fund their latest spending increase, they put it on a measure, what should be a health tax measure, and the whole point of that health tax measure is to reduce its base, to actually see its revenue decline over time, not increase. And they've used a revenue measure that, if it does its job, will decline to pay for an expenditure that is going to increase. That's called creating a long-term structural deficit. That is not a plan for jobs and growth, and that is not what this government will do.
Are you leaving the... Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Trudy. Wasn't Stuart Robert lending his...
Is there anything else on those other issues? I'll come back to that.
I just wanted to ask you, actually, if you think, if you agree with Jay Weatherall's comments that the Commonwealth is now leaving the states to hold the can, as it were, on expensive health and revenue, health options.
Well, look, Jay has been making contributions to this debate, and we've always welcomed that. But if the proposition was that you should increase the GST to give the states a bucket of money to spend more, that has never been a proposition that I'm sure you know that I or the government have countenanced. We've been very clear about that. I was very clear with the Treasurers about that when we met last year. So if that's what the purpose was, then that has never been something the government has really given any comfort to. We have never been about trying to increase taxes to support higher spending. That is not our objective. Our objective, what has driven us through all of this, is for the whole reason of examining this and dealing with the vagaries that come with that and the criticism that comes with that, is that we'll leave no stone unturned when it comes to finding ways to reduce the income tax burden on people who are out there earning money every day in this economy. And if that means on occasion those plans don't come to fruition, what Australians should know is we're going to be looking for it all the time. That is our motive, that is our incentive, because we believe that is the way to back Australians in this transitioning economy. You don't back them in by increasing taxes to support higher levels of spending. That's not a plan for jobs and growth. Okay, last one.
Stuart Robert lending his prestige as an Australian government minister to his business mate up there in China?
That is, I think that's an offensive suggestion, Paul. It's a massive overreach and it's a shocking beat up. Thank you.
And that was the Federal Treasurer, Scott Morrison, fielding questions there on the GST in particular, also on superannuation and negative gearing. He fobbed off some of the reporters' questions, particularly on negative gearing, and he wanted to divert the focus, of course, to the opposition, which he said were wanting to, were all about raising taxes to support spending. And he said no stone unturned to eradicate or to reduce income tax burdens for ordinary Australians. So really not learning all that much about the government's tax reform plans.